a tiny mangrove island in the Indian Ocean. The setting for the culmination of a long-term search. This is exactly where Swiss puzzle master Daniel Krieg was led by the clues of a centuries-old cipher. Is there a pirate's treasure buried here?
This really is extremely exciting, though.
It smells like wood from a shipwreck. Oak wood.
A unique search for clues.
The bigger the treasure, the better the lunch.
Team treasure hunt?
Yes!
Take a pair of doves. Pull out their hearts and press them onto the horse's head. Instructions from an almost 300-year-old cipher, as unbelievable as it may sound, lead to thrilling archaeological discoveries. The text derives from a cryptogram that is said to have been written by the French pirate Buse. Does it contain clues regarding the hiding place of his million-dollar treasure? The dream of finding a treasure is as old as mankind itself. Particularly interesting, lost pirate treasures. At the top of the list is the one of pirate Olivier Levasseur, nicknamed Buse, the Buzzard. He was up to mischief in the early 18th century, first in the Caribbean and later in the Indian Ocean. This is also where he is said to have hidden his treasure. Legend has it that the cryptogram reveals where. But how are we to interpret a sentence like, "The egg must be half-hatched"? 9,000 kilometers away from the Indian Ocean, historian and puzzle author Daniel Krieg believes he has found the answers. Writing tricky clues to solve a mystery is part of his everyday life.
Years ago, I developed a puzzle game and wanted to present it to my company. And then, while looking for something a little more exciting, I came across this cryptogram. This very cryptogram by Buse. And then I thought, it can't be that this isn't solvable, since it didn't seem so complex to me with this code. So I sat down and tried to decipher it.
Daniel has meticulously searched archives for contemporary documents, developed and discarded various solutions. After years of intensive research, he now believes he has deciphered the cryptogram. He is ready to test his theory on site. Daniel's first destination is the island of La Réunion. Some treasure hunters suspect that the pirate treasure could be hidden somewhere in the hinterland of the capital Saint-Denis. At first glance, the deep valleys and ravines seem to be the perfect hiding place. Over 300 years ago, pirates from all over the world spread fear and terror throughout this region. With their fast sailboats, they lie in wait for merchant and pilgrim ships from India and the Far East. Buse, probably the son of a French freebooter, is the most famous among them. British historian Marina Carter is already waiting for Daniel at the port of St. Paul. She wants to show Daniel the historical sites. Their first destination, the Bay of Saint-Denis, where Buse made the catch of his life on April 26, 1721. At the time, a ship was lying in a roadstead here to be repaired from storm damage. The main mast was broken and the ship was unable to maneuver. Most of the crew were ashore. On board, however, were the possessions of the Bishop of Goa and the Viceroy of Portuguese India, who were on their way back home.
Two pirate ships, one of them commanded by Buse, surrounds the Portuguese ship, which is called the Nossa Senhora do Cabo, and very easily capture the ship because the ship cannot offer much resistance. Almost everybody is on shore. In that simple event, they create one of the most notorious captures of a wealthy ship in history. It's because on board are Indian, Chinese silks, porcelain, and precious gems from India.
From the shore, the crew of the Nossa Senhora had to watch helplessly as the pirates took control of the ship, took it in tow, and sailed away towards Madagascar. There are contradictory records of the value of their loot.
So here's the source that I have. It's from 1724, and the estimate that was given here is between 3 and 4 million Spanish dollars from the capture of the ship, which today you can multiply that by about 100, so you could say that it's between 3 and 400 million. So that sounds like a very good haul.
Very interesting
source.
because
Yeah.
my source is completely different.
Ah, okay.
You know, this is from the Dutch Jacob de Bouquois.
Yes.
You might heard.
The man who was held in captivity
Yes, exactly.
by the pirates.
And
yes.
as you see here, he says is over 30 million of guilders.
Wow.
And if these are golden guilders, that would be 2.6 billion of euros.
That's huge.
That's huge,
That's
yes.
an enormous sum of money, and a lot more than this.
Yeah.
But I guess what we can conclude is that this must have been one of the richest hauls in the history of piracy. Cheers.
Pleasure.
Many historians doubt that pirates buried their loot. Transportation to the interior of the island alone would have taken too much time. In Saint-Denis, in the main archives of La Réunion, there is evidence of what happened to at least parts of the treasure. The loot was divided among the pirates according to fixed rules. According to the contemporary sources, there were around 480 men. Marina ordered the correspondence from the French East India Company, which was in charge here at the time. In order to put an end to piracy, the pirates were offered amnesty. But it came at a price.
And this is informing us that the pirates are handing over some of the religious artifacts that they have with them. And the fact that they're handing these back indicates they are doing this as a gesture of goodwill to show how serious they are about accepting the amnesty.
The documents also contain a reference to Olivier Levasseur, alias Buse.
This is the most interesting of all the documents because this is a letter by Olivier Buse written to the governor of Bourbon on 25th March 1724. And he doesn't want to accept the amnesty right now because he needs to make some money so he can present himself in the appropriate manner for the captain of a corsair ship.
At the time, Buse rejected amnesty. Whether he actually wanted to obtain money or rather keep his share of the treasure cannot be proven. 6 years later, he was captured off Madagascar, transferred to La Réunion, and put on trial.
his fatal miscalculation appears in here. So this is the criminal trial of the pirate Buse, and it tells us what happened to him on 7th of July, 1730. It says that Buse has been convicted of the crime of piracy. He is condemned to walk to the seafront in St. Paul, and here he will be hung, strangled, and after he is dead, the body will be displayed for 24 hours.
There is no record about any riches in the pirates' possession in the official documents. The trial of Buse leads Daniel and Marina to the cemetery of Saint Paul, the oldest parish and former capital of the island. One of the gravestones bears his name. However, his remains are not there.
This couldn't possibly be the real tombstone of Buse. First of all, this cemetery was constructed about 50 years after Buse was hung. Secondly, a pirate who'd been condemned and hung would not have been allowed to be in consecrated ground. So to please the tourists, this was put here. But after that, it took on a life of its own because local people began to visit this site, and a lot of people on the island today still believe in a local kind of witchcraft, and they bring offerings to this tomb, and there are some people who believe that this tomb has a lot of power.
So far, it has not yet led anyone to the pirates' legendary treasure. The only clue is a cryptogram with the words, "For the one who finds out," that Buse is said to have thrown into the crowd shortly before his execution. At least that is what Charles de la Roncière, historian and curator at the French National Library, claimed in the 1930s. Apparently, a reliable source. Daniel is not the first person to try to decipher the cryptogram. But as someone who creates his own riddles, he has a different approach to possible solutions than most treasure hunters before him.
This is the book by French librarian Charles de la Roncière, published in 1934. Roncière says that a woman named Rose Savy came to him from the Indian Ocean and had brought him this cryptogram. How Madame Savy gained access to this cryptogram remains a mystery.
There is proof that she was married to the descendant of another pirate. The cryptogram was written in a Masonic code, published as early as 1742 in a book which revealed the secrets of the Freemasons.
The code is easy to comprehend. We have two basic grids, where the letters of the alphabet are always being inserted in pairs. Afterwards, when translating into the code, the first letter is the one that gets a dot. The second letter has no dot. And we take the frame around this letter and write it down. Here in the cryptogram, for example, we have this gate. So we look here in the code, this must be a P. This is a P. Then the next one here in this frame, which also has no dot. So it's an R. That's how you can translate this system. That's how you can write it.
Actually quite simple, if there hadn't been a mistake in the cryptogram.
This means a dot has been lost, or a dash is missing where one should have been. This logic error results in a table that shows us which character could possibly be another character.
Daniel also had to do a lot of research into the phrases themselves before he discovered that they were texts from Africa and the Indian Ocean region that were common at the time. Take a pair of doves, pull out their hearts and press them onto the horse's head. A bloody ritual to treat melancholy. Smoke the opening of a Turkish dog. It was a common belief at the time to bring drowned people back to life by blowing hot smoke into their anus. The egg must be half-hatched, an exception to an egg taboo for pregnant women and children in Africa. And Daniel makes another important discovery. The text uses the letters J and V, which were only officially adopted into the French alphabet 30 years after Buse's death. Although the pirate cannot be the author of the cryptogram, Daniel does not want to rule out a connection to his treasure.
It is often the case that legends are not entirely made up out of thin air. Many times you find that some core of the story could be true, or, as a matter of fact, is true. I don't rule out the possibility that there is a connection between the attack on this Nossa Senhora and the cryptogram. Above all, it is Madame Savy who was told that there was a connection, and La Roncière then documented it.
Dass es einen Zusammenhang gibt, und La Roncière hat das dann aufgenommen.
Daniel also develops a theory about the obscure phrases.
So I realized relatively quickly that the actual text with these strange set pieces, does nothing to solve the actual riddle. I realized that there must be a second riddle behind the riddle. There are other elements in the text, which clearly are geographical clues.
Daniel believes that the text serves as a disguise for a hidden second layer of the riddle. Possibly a map which, if he interprets it correctly, could lead him to the pirate's treasure. How the solution to a riddle actually leads to the discovery of a treasure can be seen in the USA a few years ago. Here, too, everything begins with a mysterious message.
As I have gone alone in there, and with my treasure of gold, I can keep my secret where, and head of riches do I know.
Millionaire Forrest Fenn is an avid collector of historical works of art and other valuables. In 2010, he hid a chest containing items from his collection in the Rocky Mountains and described the location in a poem.
A person can find a treasure chest by reading the poem.
It was like being Indiana Jones, you know? It doesn't get much better than that.
Thousands set off and share their experiences on social media. Some spend years doing it. One treasure hunter searched for 780 days.
My biggest motivation was trying to solve something that seemed to be unsolvable. Thousands of people had gone out and searched, and thousands of people had returned home with nothing but the experience. But I like to solve puzzles. It was worth my time.
Finally, after 10 years, will the treasure be found?
I was devastated that chase was over.
Apparently, medical student Jack Stuff was able to decipher the clues. He has not yet revealed the location of the treasure, which was later auctioned off for $1.3 million. Daniel also believes he has solved the secret of the cryptogram. His theory leads him to the island of Mauritius, 225 kilometers away from La Réunion. The island has a very eventful history. Until its discovery by the Portuguese around 1507, Mauritius was uninhabited. Even the Portuguese only used it as a base. In the early 18th century, pirates settled here for a short time, jeopardizing the safety of the surrounding waters. However, they were quickly driven out by the French. At that time, many slaves were taken to the island. Some managed to escape. They were recorded in history as the Maroons. Daniel is already expected here too. So far, he has only gotten to know the archaeologist Dr. Jayshree Mungur Mehdi via the internet. Daniel contacted her because he needs official permission for the investigation of certain areas. Jayshree and her husband Nipon Mehdi have agreed to help him verify his theory.
Nipon. That's a great pleasure. Big team.
First of all, Daniel will travel alone to the place that helped him make the breakthrough in reading the cryptogram. His destination is the southernmost point of the island. Sugarcane plantations spread out where there once was dense jungle. The Swiss native is certain that this is exactly where the proof that the cipher is referring to Mauritius can be found. Daniel has discovered characters scattered throughout the text that clearly do not belong to the Masonic code. Reading one of these characters gives him the idea that they could be markings indicating geographical features.
The
text of the cryptogram is actually nonsensical, but we have special characters which obviously help us. One of these characters is a double character from the code, an S and a U, followed by the character used for D. It results in Sud, south in French. This basically calls for the random placement of the south point. And of course, maps are the obvious choice. I then looked for maps from the beginning of the 18th century. And then I came across this picture with 3 islands. This is La Réunion. It was called Île Bourbon, Mauritius, and Vaudreuil. Nowadays, it belongs to Mauritius, and I immediately realized that only one of them really fits in today's image of the island. That's why I was instantly convinced that Mauritius was the solution. So I tried to place the cryptogram on this island, specifically the southern point.
Auf diese Insel zu legen, und zwar den Südpunkt.
I immediately noticed that there was another marker, a 45-degree slash. And if you put the two in relation to each other, you get an exact 45-degree rotation. This means that the south point then points from south to north with the line. And this slash points from west to east.
Daniel has thus not only determined the island, but also the angle at which the cryptogram must be placed on the map, with the help of the 45-degree inclined slash. A good starting point for his further search. To find out more about archaeological discoveries on and around Mauritius, Daniel travels to the north of the island. He has an appointment with an underwater archaeologist who knows the coast like the back of his hand. Jan van Armen has lived here for 40 years. The oceanographer is not only committed to protecting the sea, he also sits on the board of directors of the island's museums and is a keen wreck diver. The reefs surrounding the island have become the downfall of many ships.
Here is the location of a ship that we discovered in 1988. It sank in 1804 by running aground on the coast, on the reef. And now, last year in 2023, we did an excavation and found out that the ship was a slave ship, a French ship called La Victoire.
A stroke of luck, because often there isn't enough of the ships left to identify them. The decisive clue came from a copper plate with the date 1801, which they found during their dives. Otherwise, all that remains of the former slave ship is the hull with ballast stones.
How do you find wrecks? Is there any special manner?
Normally, you find wrecks either because a fisherman has spotted them or in archives, and then you go search for them.
As in the case of the Victoire, there is lots to find in the archives about many of the estimated 3 million wrecks worldwide. Not only the time and place of its submergence, but also information about their cargo. The experiences of the Odyssey Marine Exploration Group shows just how successful treasure hunters can be after meticulous research. For many years, the company systematically searched archives for sunken ships that had gold, silver, or jewels on board. The company has state-of-the-art equipment at its disposal, including remote-controlled vehicles, so-called ROVs, which can also operate in the deep sea.
We are the only people who are successfully using ROVs to do shipwrecks to the extent that we do them, especially deep water shipwrecks.
The business model was simple. There are billions of dollars worth of cargo on the ocean floor. Odyssey saw itself as an operator of commercial marine archaeology, where good business and sound archaeology go hand in hand. However, salvage, which is usually a difficult task, sometimes seemed like child's play compared to the protracted international court cases in which ownership or division of the unearthed treasures is argued. This is one reason why Odyssey has now given up the search for wrecks and shifted its focus to locating minerals and natural resources on the seabed. Daniel doesn't even want to think about the problems that might arise once the treasure has been found. It is still just an idea that a treasure map is hidden in the cryptogram.
We must be aware that our image of a treasure map is actually an unnatural one, a product of fantasy, created by Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island.
Robert Louis Stevenson von der Schatzinsel.
In Stevenson's novel, the point where the treasure is buried is marked with a cross on the map. Yet nobody knew where the island was. But what if the island is known and the location of the treasure is not revealed to the uninitiated? Daniel believes that the author would choose prominent points in the landscape as so-called anchor points. A high mountain, a river, or the southern tip of the island. He would have to pinpoint their location on a map and then transfer the position in form of a symbol to the appropriate place in the cryptogram. During his research, Daniel actually came across a contemporary map that could have been used when the cryptogram was written. Now he wants to check whether his theory holds up at a second suspected anchor point he has discovered. It's about the highest mountain on the island, the 828-meter-high Morne au Piton de la Petite Riviere Noire, which was first measured in 1753.
This is the correct size of the first really usable map of the Indian Ocean from 1753 by an Abbé de la Caille. Then I tried to match these points with different sizes of the cryptogram. I placed the southern point and rotated the cryptogram by 45 degrees and saw that the highest point of the island fits exactly under this spot. And this is exactly where we are now. We can see the highest point of the island, the Piton de la Petite Riviere Noire. Now it is very noticeable that this mountain is not at all prominent. I'm sure the author knew La Caille, its map, and its measurements. Otherwise, he would have never chosen this relatively inconspicuous mountain. So now we already have 2 points that really correspond exactly with these signs on the cryptogram. For me, this is already a very solid indication that it is precisely this system that is needed to find the solution.
If you look for other special features of the cryptogram, you will notice that one line is slightly indented. This is where the country's capital and largest port, Port-Louis, is located. According to Daniel's considerations, a logical anchor point. Immovable, visible to everyone, and therefore harmless. In the center, the most important market in the region. A good place to learn more about the special features of the island's settlement history and its inhabitants from archaeologist Dr. Jayshree Mungur Mehdi.
You see the Creole, right? All this you have, I'm sure. Which there?
They are as diverse as the products on offer at the market stalls. Many are descendants of former slaves. At the end of the 18th century, slaves made up 85% of the population. Finding and researching their archaeological traces is part of Jayshree's everyday life.
So you have the Dutch coming in, you're bringing slaves around, and then the island is occupied by the French, also them bringing African slaves, Asian slaves, Indian slaves. You do have small problems because we are so diverse, so many ethnic groups, but they have not become serious as we see in other countries, you know. So still we are able to live peacefully. You have this uniqueness of mixing of culture, a real melting pot.
In their email correspondence, Daniel has already convinced the archaeologist that there might be something to his analysis of the cryptogram. She will help him visit all the places on the island that he believes are connected to the pirates' treasure. The discovery of the symbols and their possible connection to a contemporary map helped provide Daniel's breakthrough, but also meant that Buse could no longer be considered as the author. The map was created more than 2 decades after the pirates' execution. It wasn't possible to find a logical explanation for all the characters as quickly as for the letter D, which refers to a hill with the promising name Piton de la Découverte, Hill of Discovery.
What we have so far are these characters, those special characters. It's really interesting that there are different types of characters. We have this one letter on the Piton de la Découverte. We have both twos, which are numbers. We have a graphic element, this slash. We have this smudge, a kind of dirt. And we have combinations from the code, like this south side. So the person who created this has really given it a lot of thought. What was I meant to do with it? I then found a cave in this D, in this Découverte, a description of a cave. So I immediately thought there must be a connection. Cave, treasure. He must have hidden the treasure there.
With the help of an old estate map, Daniel manages to determine the owner of the land at the time. In the 1750s, the land around the hilltop belonged to a certain François-Étienne Le Juge, who was a great plant lover and advisor to the island administration. Traces of the Frenchman can still be found today in the botanical gardens, the oldest in the Indian Ocean.
He is best known as a botany hobbyist who has imported many plants from abroad. He planted 800 trees in his garden. Many of the plants here in the oldest botanical garden in the Indian Ocean are his own.
For Daniel, however, it's not interesting because of the botany, but because of its suspected connection to the cryptogram.
He has a special geographical connection to the cryptogram. For me, this connection makes him a possible candidate as the author of the cryptogram.
A bold theory at first glance, but Daniel has good reasons for this assumption. And not just because the Frenchman's property on the Piton de la Découverte seems to be listed in the cryptogram. To explore the hill more closely, Daniel has arranged to meet Jaishri, who has never been to the Piton de la Découverte herself. Although the hill is rather inconspicuous, it can be seen from miles away in the flat landscape. This is probably why de la Caille used it as a surveying and observation point for his map of 1753. From here you have a clear view of the east and north coast.
We are now located exactly at the D on the cryptogram. This is the Piton de la Découverte. The D fits exactly on the word Découverte. And what's special is that I found this map in an archive in Le Juge's estate.
Is it pure coincidence that the map was in the estate of the man whose property is also listed in the cryptogram?
Maybe here we go. Be careful, it's very slippery.
Yeah, be careful.
While searching for the cave mentioned in one of the old texts, Daniel and Jaishri make an astonishing discovery. Walls in which Jaishri suspects the remains of an old camp of runaway slaves called Maroons.
When you look at it, it's really primitive way of building stone walls. So something is going on. So what we have to know now is what is the connection of Mr. Le Juge with slavery and Maroon camps.
During the colonial era, slaves repeatedly escaped from Mauritius and formed gangs, preferably setting up their camps in inaccessible places. And the walls are not the only thing the two discover here.
Earlier from up there, Jaishri saw that there is a symbol here. Obviously, here are these two parallel lines in this angle. And again, we found something here that we didn't expect at all. We wanted to see the hill, and we find signs in a rock here. Amazing. Well, I'm just completely blown away. We thought we were probably looking for a treasure. And what we're finding now are clues regarding the history of this land, which we never expected.
During a treasure hunt, one should always be prepared for surprises. Daniel has experienced this time and again since he started working with the cryptogram. Identifying the island where a suspected treasure is located is one thing. Locating its hiding place using the markings is quite another.
There was a correlation with the map. What was I supposed to do with it? Then I tried to establish some connections. And the thing that immediately stuck out was the south side. And lo and behold, it went right through the two above. And because I had already suspected the right angle, I drew this right angle on the coordinate axis. I made 45-degree lines between these twos. The result looks impressive. I had now realized that there were definite connections between these lines. And now, I was stuck. Then I asked my friend Ivish, he's a shaman, and I told him the story, only rudimentarily. And he found it very exciting. And then he came. He showed me that he had been penduluming. He took a map of Mauritius and, by using the half-half principle, trying to figure out whether there was any treasure hidden there. North-south, it showed north. West-east indicated east. He did this until there was only a small space left, and that was a little island in a lagoon.
When Daniel inserts this information into his existing coordinate system, amazing new insights suddenly appear.
In the end, an incredible system of lines emerged from the combination of this cryptogram and the map. It still amazes me. The author has combined three elements: the map from 1753, the cryptogram, and these lines. And it took me some time to discover that there is this circle. It connects very important elements of the system: the harbor, the highest point of the island, and this cross point in the east. If you now connect the harbor horizontally to the right, you're precisely on the island. If you draw a vertical line through the connecting point, through the cross point, you come exactly to the line. And if you now draw a 45-degree line through the center of the circle, you are exactly on the island again. It was absolutely clear to me that there are no coincidences. There must be something there.
Is this really the location of one of the most famous pirate treasures in history? Daniel's team has expanded yet again. Alexandre Pounier, an expert in metal detectors, and archaeologist Jan van Amin accompany Jayshri and Daniel on this final stage of the treasure hunt. Right in front of them is the island to which all the markings on the cryptogram seem to refer. Dense mangrove scrub largely shields the shore from the outside world. Getting inside is anything but easy. Alexandre and Jan begin searching the island, which is only 50 by 30 meters in size, with their metal detectors. But the roots of the mangroves soon turn out to be a problem.
I think it's quite hard to be able to get a sound because you have lots of roots and things may be trapped into the roots, or rocks may be trapped into the roots and the treasure may be under rocks. And so this is why the site is quite hard to be able to use the metal detector. Because for a metal detector, you have to go a constant movement. And with the roots, it's quite hard to move constantly.
But suddenly, one of the probes strikes.
So can we say that's an area of 1 by 1 meter?
Maybe this is a spot, and it could be first touch.
There's a sound here, and for sure there's a sound here too.
Let's clean a little bit around and some strong hands try to move the stone.
I feel this is extremely exciting for everyone right now.
Treasure fever has overcome the whole team, and things look promising at first.
It smells like rotten wood. We have the mangroves, but it's rotten wood. It smells like wood from a shipwreck. Oak wood.
But a disappointment awaits beneath the wood. The supposed treasure turns out to be an old beer can.
So if there was something, it has been taken out.
That's the pull tab from the can we found earlier. For me, it's a kind of treasure trove of memories. I mean, it kept everyone busy for about 2 hours, and they were all excitedly digging and hoping that it was something really valuable. Value is relative.
Metal detectors only penetrate the upper layer of the ground. Even a treasure at a depth of just 2 meters would remain undiscovered. Daniel extends the search to the nearby shoreline. And Jan van Amin tries the bottom of the lagoon. Without success.
If I had lots of money, I would have used a scientific team with satellites, and they can draw like all the layers in the soil from like very deep to here where we are. That's ground penetrating radar. Yeah.
Without further technical aids or excavations, the mystery of the treasure, to which the puzzling cryptogram may refer, remains unsolved for the time being. But the venture was not entirely in vain, since a marking stone is found on the small island.
You have that stone which is cut exactly. It's like a triangular shape pointing to something. For me, it serves like an arrow indicating to go somewhere.
The tip is pointing to the opposite shoreline. Archaeologically, still a completely unexplored area. Reinforced by her husband Nippon, Jayshree and Daniel make their way through the undergrowth. Then, they come across some sort of swathe.
This is not one spot now. It's a whole landscape that we have to look at. So we are here.
Okay, here's...
You see 2 lines which has a kind of a shape that we cannot understand yet. And having 2 parallel lines like that, so straight, it's not natural, it's not normal. Something has been going on there that we cannot tell.
The parallel lines are reminiscent of the lines on the stone on the Piton de la Découverte.
This.
Oh.
It's with...
And Jayshree makes another discovery.
That's crazy. Crazy stuff
So you
here.
can clean this a little bit. So definitely it's a...
Obviously. There's no doubt.
It's no doubt it's a man-made well kind of a thing. You can pull this. It's a kind of a step well, you know.
Yeah.
Very rough, very rudimentary, but it's definitely made.
At first glance, it is impossible to say when and by whom the well was created.
There's kind of a spring down there because some bubbles are coming out after cleaning it.
The well is proof that people must have spent some time in the immediate vicinity of the mangrove island. And there is further evidence of human activity.
Now just move your eyes around and be careful at the same time.
So these are walls. I can see walls.
See, you can see walls, right?
I can see walls.
You can see walls. So if you see all around,
Yes.
you find stone alignments.
Yeah.
And whenever there is the alignment is archaeology. They are definitely man-made remains, part of wall or platform or, you know.
Really exciting.
Really exciting. When
Really
I saw
exciting.
these things, like, wow, this whole place is definitely showing that it's a space used by somebody. Can it be the pirates? Can it be to the Maroons? We never know, because now it's leading to a new research. So from that small island, we enlarged the scope of the survey, and it's wow. We got a good archaeological site. It's a It's a bigger group, a bigger community living around or settling here for some time. Definitely, Daniel, your research we started with the islet is beginning a bigger research project, a bigger archaeological site. And for me personally, I never looked at this area until we started focusing on the islet.
With the help of the cryptogram, Daniel's treasure hunt led to the discovery of several previously unknown archaeological sites. Whether the camps served as hideouts for pirates or fugitive slaves, and whether the stone markings were clues to the hiding place of a treasure or signposts for other escapees, will be the subject of further investigations.
We discovered 2 sites like that, so that was a wow for me. So though no insight of treasure or whatever, the discovery of those sites for future research is a treasure for our history and for archaeology.
We didn't find any treasure, but on the other hand, we saw things that were absolutely beyond what we could have expected. And on the way here, I deciphered the cryptogram and discovered these lines, and I'm quite sure that they both hold water. And for me, these 2 elements clearly show that we're in the right place, and that Mauritius is the solution to the riddle, even if we are not quite there yet. But we are in the right place.
And at some point, the search for the treasure may even be continued.